Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another session in the Policy Matrix speaker series where we provide insights into the policy field. Today, I have with me a very special guest. We have Ananta Sharma. She is a lawyer by profession based in New Delhi, and she's a former LAMP fellow. She graduated from UC Berkeley with a specialization in law and technology and currently is working with a US based company in the area of immigration law and policy. Welcome, Ananta. We're very happy to have you on this platform.
Hi, Muniva. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you for joining us. So one of the things that really struck me about your profile was that you were a former LAMP fellow. So what motivated you to join the fellowship, and what was something that you took away from that fellowship that you really felt resonated with you?
Sure. The LAM Fellowship itself, it gives you the opportunity to observe the legislative process from a closer lens. And the fact that, that my recommendation or my research can actually help shape policy, which will in turn affect the citizens of the country. That itself was such a big motivating factor that I couldn't lose that opportunity. So that was one of the major driving force to actually apply for the fellowship. And I am really thankful that I actually got through the fellowship and had a wonderful experience with the PRS legislative research.
Yeah. So was that what influenced
Yeah.
your later decisions to get into immigration law or technology law as you specialized in? Was that your motivating factor, or was it just an experience that you felt really enhanced your understanding of things?
I I mean, just the fact that, I would have the opportunity to work with the very best in the field, and, have this diverse experience of working with so many, with various MPs, with different political backgrounds.
Yeah.
So there were couple of things that actually motivated me. And I think, yes, I was pretty much focused that I would probably want to pursue technology, law, and policy. Immigration came very much later in the picture.
Yeah.
But yes, so that was also one of the major factors.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then you, of course, immigration policy is something that you've been specializing in, and so I think I'm not sure how often we really get to talk about this. So why don't we discuss why it's an important issue according to you, and how you think it serves as a part of economic growth, an important part of economic growth.
Sure, sure. So immigration policy, to be very honest, it was never part of the plan.
Okay.
But when I stepped into the US as an international student, the very first thing that I encountered was, that you're coming here on a visa. So, and then when I decided to actually stay there for a while and work for a bit, then this visa bit actually became quite important, and I started became becoming more curious about what are the challenges in terms of immigration that people face there.
Yeah.
So, and that's how I stumbled upon this opportunity to work with a company, with a staffing agency actually, that actually provides candidates to their clients. So they are basically resources. Those resources are basically foreign workers, and foreign workers require work visas to actually stay in the US and work for various companies. So I think in terms of speaking of immigration law and policy in the US, it's huge. It's the bread. I can literally say that it's the bread and butter of the
Okay.
economy in the US.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in terms of speaking about immigration law and policy in India, it's not very much prevalent. It's basically not relevant here because India doesn't see a lot of immigrants coming into the country. So I think this has more to do with my experience studying and working in the
Okay.
US, and that's how I started becoming interested in this field of law and decided to pursue it further.
Wow. Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And also, you mentioned technology, law, and policy as part of one of the sphere that you worked in. And I think personally, given the way that the current discourse that we have, it's a fascinating intersection of ideas. So how do you look at that in the Indian context? How do you think the conversation around those ideas is progressing?
Yes. When it comes to the intersection of law and technology and the policy space in India, I think India is seeing a lot of developments
Oh,
as compared to other countries, and there's a lot happening here. And it's a great time to be interested in the field of technology, law, and policy.
yeah,
I remember when this was back in 2017, I was just about to leave for my master's, and I think there were two major tech law issues that were coming up, and we were working extensively on those. One was regarding internet shutdowns, and the other one was regarding the Aadhaar Act
yeah, yeah.
at that time. So those were the major issues, and I think before that, net neutrality was one of the major campaigns that got people interested in the field of tech law and policy, and the issues surrounding surveillance, privacy, and these issues started coming up, and people of our age actually started talking about us.
Yeah.
So I remember those were the only two, three issues that were coming up. But now that I'm back and I've come back after 3 years and I can see that there's so much happening. There's fintech, there's blockchain, there's the personal data protection bill, which is about to be introduced. There's the DNA bill, which is being discussed. There are so many important judgments that have actually been passed by the Supreme Court. So I think it's the best time to be interested in this field, and there's so much to look forward to. I mean, it's getting really active right now.
Mhm. Were you
So
working on
exciting
something?
times ahead.
Oh, so
Sorry.
were you working on something specific in this field? Did you get like what were your projects like during your
Sure.
yeah?
So I was working extensively on the Aadhaar project. I was working with the Rethink Aadhaar campaign, and basically it's a non-profit organization that sensitizes people about the issues concerning Aadhaar, the privacy and security related issues.
Mm-hmm.
So this was when I was working with Access Now. And then I was also tracking the parliament's engagement in terms of digital rights issues.
Right.
So how active is the parliament? Which MPs are the most active ones? What are the issues that are being discussed in the parliament related to digital rights? So these are some of the issues that I did work
That's, that sounds really cool.
on.
And just keeping that in mind, I think we can try to sort of break this down a little bit more. How do you, I mean, obviously, in your experience and from what you've seen, what do you think that the technology law and policy space in India needs more of? Like, how do you see it grow, and where do you think maybe more people need to focus on, or people need to work on? How do you see that? In the Indian policy context.
I think in terms of engagement, I can see there's definitely uh, a lack. Uh, I think public engagement, the government should make an effort to involve all relevant stakeholders in the engagement process. When the bill is proposed or
Mhm.
when a draft bill comes into the picture, I think all relevant stakeholders should engage in a manner which actually considers all facets of the bill or the proposed draft bill.
Right.
So I think that is one major area that everybody should focus on. And I think a lot more, I can see a lot of citizens being engaged in this conversation, but I think there's scope for more.
Mhm.
So I think the younger generation and I think the older generation also needs to actively take part in this. So
Yeah.
that is good because I think there are two extremes. The government either holds the consultation process with all stakeholders and then they don't follow through any of the advices that has been given,
Mhm.
or they just hold the consultation process and it's just for the sake of it.
Right.
It's not really there's no outcome that has actually been done, and if there is subordinate legislation which is being introduced or if there are any changes, then the consultation process does not happen again. It just straight away becomes a law.
Right.
So I think there has to be a greater engagement with stakeholders at all levels, not just at the initial stage but also at all relevant stages in between.
Mhm. I think this is an interesting thing you're saying, because a lot of us, we are slowly educating ourselves on the progress of perhaps certain new bills or certain developments in the country, and most of our knowledge is probably from the social media space. And I'm not really sure if that's exactly the kind of information that should be disseminated, but
Yes.
it's
Mhm.
probably a start, I guess. How would you look at that?
Mhm. I think depends on what you're looking at, right? Depends on the kind of content that you're looking at.
Yeah,
So I think there are lots of brilliant organizations out there which are disseminating the right kind of information, which are talking about the issues that I'm actually have talking with you.
yeah,
So there are organizations like Access Now, Internet Freedom Foundation, which are very active on Twitter, on Instagram, and they actually break down the data into simpler forms so that other people and common man can actually understand it. I think if there are more people looking at that, then it's a brilliant thing. But it all boils down to what you're looking at. What is the kind
right,
of content that you're exposing yourself to?
right.
So I think
That
that
is
is also a major factor. Yeah.
definitely, definitely. And so I had a chance to look
Yeah.
through your profile, and in that I came across a lot of interesting things. So one of them was that you, as part of your work, involved, I think, studying digital rights of citizens, and because this is like all of this is interrelated. So,
Mhm.
and I think it's also very upcoming
Yeah.
and highly contested terminology. So how would you like to address that issue to the general public or the people perhaps listening to this? How do you think we should understand the whole concept of our digital rights?
Sure, sure. So I think, in my opinion, digital rights, they are basically an extension of your human rights in the internet age.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's the simplest way to put it.
Yeah.
And it's such a broad term. It can also be considered as an umbrella term, which has various other rights in it. It can mean online protection of privacy, and then it can be free. It can also mean freedom of speech and expression, and it can also mean, having equitable access to internet irrespective of your economic background. So there are so many issues that can come within the ambit of digital rights as such.
Mhm.
It can also relate to the fact that you are concerned about your data. What is happening with your data? How are the companies using it? How is the government using it? How are the technology giants like Facebook and Google utilizing your information? Are they selling it to a third party? Are they asking for your consent when they're doing that? So I think basic awareness regarding all these issues and knowing your rights in such circumstances, I think that would mean digital rights in today's day and age. So, I think we need to be more aware about it, because I think the Snowden revelations have told us so many times, have proven so many times that there's a lot happening which we do not understand.
Right.
And there are literally hacks happening every day, every now and then. I think there was a recent one with Facebook. There's some
Yeah.
I think 4-year-old data which is circulating. Then there's the hack with MobiQuick. And I think it's become a norm that we actually go through such kind of information every day, and we just don't react to it. We're like, it happens. So
Like
I think that is the
yeah,
wrong
you're
approach. And
right.
I
We've become very numb to it. कि, okay, हुआ होगा
Yeah,
कहीं, we'll see, and
हाँ, वो तो
it's
रोज
not
का है.
affecting me exactly. It's not affecting me, so I
Yeah,
don't think I
yeah, yeah,
should,
yeah,
get
yeah.
involved in this, or it's not something I want to focus on right now. I think you're right that we've become quite numb to that, to how much we've been
Yeah,
going through
yeah,
every day. And I think
yeah.
with
And I
the
think a lot.
yeah, sorry, you were saying?
Sorry, you no, you were saying. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to bring this up because you mentioned this earlier with regards to the data protection bill. So we're slowly having these discussions now because we've looked at the GDPR and we're like, oh, this is really nice. Maybe we should have something like this. But then it's taking time and
Yeah,
nobody really. I'm not sure how that the whole discourse is going around our own personal data as citizens. How are we looking at it, and how seriously are we really um,
yeah.
taking it?
Yeah. I think more engagement. I think that is key here. And then actually not just knowing about it, but actually acting on it. It's not enough to have that information and that knowledge, but I think acting on that information and actually reaching out to Telecom Regulatory Authority of India or any other concerned government agency and letting them know your point of view also. Because I remember when the net neutrality campaign happened long back, there were numerous online petitions which were being signed, and there was a letter written by the youth of the nation that this is going to affect how I access the internet. You cannot be doing this. So I think those kind of engagements will really make a difference. And I think with broader understanding of the right to privacy also, because a lot of people go about saying, oh, it's not affecting me, agar pata bhi chal jaye to kya farak padta hai,
Right.
गवर्नमेंट को अगर मेरे चैट्स दिख भी जाए तो क्या फर्क पड़ता है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, क्या छुपाना है. बट इट्स नॉट
Yeah.
या बट वो समझते नहीं है कि इट्स नॉट अबाउट कि आपको छुपाना नहीं है या आप कुछ गलत करो. इट्स अबाउट हैविंग दैट चॉइस, दैट अगर आपके पास वो चॉइस, आई मीन इट्स अबाउट योर राइट. इट्स ऑल्सो अबाउट आप किसी थर्ड पार्टी के बारे में इंफॉर्मेशन भी शेयर कर रहे हो, एंड यू आर readily making that information available to the government. And also basically having that choice that okay, I have that choice, it's within my control whether I want to give up my privacy and security to the government or to the company. I have that choice. Here you are not even being given that option.
Yeah.
Your right has been basically snatched. So there's a difference between that.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand it.
I really like
Uh-huh.
this thing that you mentioned, because I can't tell you the number of times we've had these discussions amongst me and some of my friends. Ki, oh, I have nothing to
Yeah,
hide. Why should I be afraid?
yeah,
Like, oh, a big
yeah,
deal if somebody is snooping on my data. But it's,
yeah,
uh, the gravity of the whole fact that it's, I can allow that and I don't want that to happen. It's my data. I don't think we are able
yeah,
to
yeah,
completely understand that concept.
yeah. Yeah,
But
I think in terms of conceptual understanding, we are still way behind. But I think we'll get there. We'll get there. There's certainly movement for
yeah,
sure.
definitely. And I really,
Yeah.
I'm really fascinated by your entire journey from technology law and immigration law and policy, and the way that you've navigated your way in general. How would you advise somebody who is trying to? I mean, you already mentioned it's a great time to get into the technology law, technology space, policy space in India. But how would you advise somebody who's trying to get into this space? Or there might be some popular myths that people might have that you may have encountered about the policy space in general. So what would you advise, or how would you advise someone to go about it?
Sure. I mean, for somebody who wants to do a policy fellowship, I think LAMP fellowship is the perfect launchpad to kickstart your career into public policy and politics also, because it gives you a really, closer look into both these aspects, and they are sort of inseparable. But I think that would be the LAMP fellowship is like the perfect opportunity for that, and anybody who wants to get into this field, they should definitely apply. In terms of choosing your field of law, I think people who are applying to the fellowship, they're from different backgrounds. As you know, I think Abhishek is from engineering, I
Yeah.
am from the law background. So there are people from different backgrounds who actually want to just expose themselves to the policy space in India and how the legislative process works, or just provide valuable information and work closely with the MPs. So I think everybody is motivated by different factors. Uh, so it actually boils down to what you want to extract, from that fellowship. Once you apply and once you get through it, there are 50 of us coming out with different experiences. I actually sort of moved more towards technology, law, and policy. There are other friends of mine who actually moved more towards politics, and the others who went towards, maybe health policy, or education policy, or things like that. So it depends on what you as an individual want to extract from that fellowship. There's a lot to gain from it. You have literally, they're offering you literally everything on the platter, and it depends on how you make use of that opportunity. And I think once you're applying for the fellowship, I would say that pay great attention to the issue, the policy issue that you would be interested in working on.
Right.
I remember this was part of the application process when I was applying, and I'm not really sure if uh, that question is still there in their application, but I'm pretty sure some variation of it would be there, because I think this is like the meat of the conversation and the entire purpose of applying for the fellowship. But yeah, pay great attention to it. Think about something that you're really passionate and interested in, because that will reflect on your day-to-day work. That can influence your MP. That, your MP can probably help you out with how to go about in that field. uh, so I think pay great attention to that, research properly, read everything on the website. That would be a huge help. If possible, have conversations with people who've done the LAM fellowship and what are they doing now? What has their career trajectory been? I sort of stumbled into immigration law and policy when I went to the US. This was never part of the plan. And thereafter, I started liking the work, and I'm still continuing work in that field. So that was sort of a diversion from my career interest when I applied for the fellowship. But yes, I'm definitely interested in both the areas of law. And this was just something new, immigration as a law student in India, you never really studied or heard about immigration law and policy. So this was all new to me. And even when I went for my master's, I had never thought that I would be practicing immigration law and policy. So I'm happy that I did that, and I'm happy that I'm able to, work closely with attorneys and with various stakeholders, and maybe bring a positive change in their lives. So that really helps.
Sure, that sounds
Yeah.
really wonderful. And
Mhm.
do you have plans to continue in this sphere, or you think that you would like to experiment with some different, some more areas maybe of policy, maybe?
I think I'm open to all possible avenues that can be explored. But yes, my I would say that my primary interest lies in tech law and policy and immigration law and policy. So if there's any way that I can move forward in that direction, I would definitely look forward to that. Yes.
That's wonderful, Ananta. Thank you so much for sharing this. It's been wonderful talking to you and learning from you
Thank you.
in this short span of
I hope,
time.
yeah, no worries at all. I hope I was able to give some valuable insight, and I hope it really helps people out there.
Oh, absolutely. I hope it will. And I wish you the very best of luck for your
Thank
future.
you. Thank you, Muniba.
I hope, and we hope we'll hear great things from you, and maybe we'll have a chance again at Policy Matrix to, talk with you. Maybe let's see.
Sure, sure, sure. Thank you so much. Thank
Thank you so
you.
much, Ananta.